So a lot of students, a lot of young graduates don't know about the role of a clinical manager.
The clinical data management is evolving. As you come into the industry, you are bringing valuable information. You will teach us as equally as we will teach you.
What are your advices for students or young graduates that are interested in getting into clinical data management?
Guiding growth through education. Lessons learned in clinical data management. Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the SCDM podcast. My name is Carol Schaffer, and today I'd like to introduce you to Bel-Christ. Bel-Christ is a graduate student. I'll let him introduce himself, but today's conversation, we're going to be talking about clinical data management, getting into clinical data management and clinical data science as a career, and all of the things that are involved in starting a career and the things that maybe he doesn't know, or maybe you're curious about. So without further ado, Bel-Christ, would you like to do a quick introduction?
Of course. Hello, Carol. My name is Bel-Christ. I am a recent graduate in computational biology and data science at ULB.
Well, it's very nice to have you here. Bel-Christ, you're a recent graduate, and you're very curious about clinical data management and clinical data science. So we have had a number of outreaches to our students about the profession. And I just wanted to, talk a little bit about, what clinical data management is, and feel free to ask me questions.
All right.
When I started my career, I did not start my career thinking that I was going to be a clinical data manager. I started my career thinking I was going to be an actress. And when I got into clinical data management, it wasn't until 20 years down the road from the time I graduated school that I was able to understand what it was and learn about that profession. I am a biologist by training. Both my bachelor's and master's degrees are in biology, so I always had a passion for science. Clinical data management is really an extension of the scientific community in terms of when I started, I did research, but somewhere along the line, what we discover in the lab ends up possibly as a treatment for disease or illness, or prevention in terms of vaccination. And so that medicine, that potential treatment or preventative vaccination needs to be tested. And so when we do that, when we test in people, we have to go through a series of different trials, different studies. So when I think about it scientifically, I think about it as we're running an experiment. Same thing that I did in a lab at the beginning of my career, but the experiment's a little bit longer. It takes a little bit longer to get the results, and we have a lot more people involved. So we can have as few as maybe 10 people in a small early study in healthy people to make sure it's safe, or we can have as many as tens of thousands of people, depending on what we're testing, in a later study right before we're ready to give it to our regulators to review and look at the data. Our job is to make sure that data is ready for the reviewers to look at and make their decision as to whether they are going to approve. And the goal is always to approve. That whole process could take as long as 10 years. Sometimes it's quicker. In times of COVID, we have examples of we were able to get the medicines, the vaccinations to market faster, and that was utilizing technology, AI, machine learning, really being able to work globally around the world with all of our global counterparts so that there wasn't a break in time. We were able to hand work off. So that there's a time span that we have to accomplish this. But it's very important, the work that we do. It's as important as the people who design the protocols or the experiments, and it's as important as the statisticians who analyze it or the regulators who approve it. Our job is to make sure that data is ready, has the high quality and high integrity. So please, tell me a little bit about what you are interested in, and what questions do you have for me in terms of the career and trying to find a job, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. So as a data scientist, I am a young graduate in computational biology, and I am aspiring to get into big pharma companies. But I never heard about the function of a clinical data managers. So my first question, you already answered that question. My first question was, can you please give us a small definition of the function of the role of a clinical data manager? But you did it already. Thank you very much. It was clear for me.
What I do want to say is that clinical data management is evolving. And we have, when I started in the clinical data management group many years ago, it was very different than it is today. We have evolved because technology has evolved and the needs have evolved. We are continuing to evolve. Technology is continuing to evolve. And so we are, not only are we evolving with it, but we are pushing the envelope along with it, right? So we're saying, well, here's technology that maybe is experimental on the side in this situation, but now we have another situation where now we need to take that technology and utilize it. AI is an example of that. We were dabbling in AI pre-COVID. COVID happened and we said, wait, this tool can speed things up. So what's important about your coming out of school and knowing what you know with your degree and what I know with 20 plus years in clinical data management and now evolving into clinical data science is I can teach you and my colleagues can teach you and your peers what the clinical world is and how the clinical world works. What we would depend on from you is you coming in and bringing the technology and the innovation with you because you know far more from a technological perspective because you've just studied it and it is fresh in your mind and you're learning, you have learned the cutting edge through your studies. And so as you come into the industry, you are bringing valuable information for us. You will teach us as equally as we will teach you. Yes. And I think that that's important when you go interviewing on your search for a job is to be able to say, not only where can I develop, what can I do? But be able to sit in front of your interviewer and say, this is what I can bring to the table. I know this, this, and this, and I can help you develop new methods, develop new processes. So I think that that's important, and that's a feather in your cap to be able to come to a potential employer and say, not only am I going to fill a slot, but I'm going to add value because I have this knowledge that you may not have or may not have a lot of expertise in. So it's always a good thing for students to understand that you also bring value to a role.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so I had another question for you. Yeah. During the SCDM academic event, there is Stephanie Popes from J&J. Mm-hmm. She stated that when she was a child, she never dreamed about being a clinical data manager.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know about this job, the function of a clinical data manager. So my question is, how can you explain why so many young young graduates are not aware of the importance of this job?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that I think part of it is on us as a profession, not getting out there and talking to. We're just beginning this outreach. So you mentioned a visit to the university, and we're trying now more than ever to get out to the universities and really reach out to students. Each of our companies, many companies, especially the large pharma, have internships or co-ops where we will bring students in and they will work with us for anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to a year and gain experience. But that's on us as a profession in terms of being able to reach out. Many universities have data science or bioinformatics programs, right? You have your degree in that. But they don't know the clinical side of it.
Yeah.
So this is where it's up to us as a profession to reach out to universities and make them aware. And our academic track within SCDM is really working hard to get that outreach more public and more visible and having more connections in the academic community so that the awareness is there. And that we can have these conversations and potentially bring students in as interns, co-ops, new entry levels, employees, trying to get the future of our industry in early and get you, get you trained on what we do, but having you contribute from an early point. So you're right in saying that it's not well known.
Popular.
I have to tell you, when my colleague had said to me, there's an opening in data management, and I think you would make an excellent data manager. I said, wow, that's a great. I'm so excited. Thank you for thinking of me. What is it? So I was even in pharma and didn't really know. I knew there were clinical people over there. So they were in the other building, but I didn't really know what they did. So I think it really is coming out of our own bubble and getting out there more. And through SCDM, we are working very hard to have that outreach and that information get out so that people do know what it is. So you can take this wonderful degree that you've just spent all this time gaining and being able to apply it in the clinical world.
All right, thank you. I just want to add something. We are at the SCDM conference. I feel like this kind of conference is more targeted to people in industry and less for students, because I met really few students at this event. So I feel like you guys also have to make a small effort to have a small percentage of students attending to this kind of conference.
Yes, so, I agree. I agree. And we experimented with this last year at our annual conference in the United States, where we had invited a small number of students to come and attend the conference, which was overwhelmingly a success. They enjoyed it fully. They had a wonderful time at the sessions, learned a lot. This is something that we absolutely need to pursue. I'm in complete agreement with you. I think that you would gain a lot as students or as fresh graduates new to the industry. One of the things that we want to make sure as we're developing these programs is many of our sessions are mid to high level advanced topics, ensuring that if we have younger, fresher employees, sort of a little more inexperienced, that we have more entry level, foundational type sessions as well, so that there is learning. Because this whole experience, the whole conference experience, regardless of where it is in the world, is an educational experience. Yeah. And so it's linked to our educational framework, it's linked to competencies and skills, and we want to make sure that we're not just targeting our mid-level and advanced, but that we're also targeting our foundational, entry-level, new to the profession people. So I agree with you. I think we do need to allow space for students. SCDM does have a student membership, which is available.
Really?
Yes,
I didn't know about it.
Yes, so there is a student membership, and there's the ability to come in and at a low rate be able to have access to our website, our learning, our journal. And start that educational experience for yourself. Right. We also offer for people who, like you, who have 0 to 2 years experience, a certified clinical data associate certification. And so what you can do is you can gain that foundational knowledge through reading, watching webinars, following a learning journey, and then in the end of that journey, take a certification exam and become certified. And so what it does is it makes you more marketable in the data management world, because you can go in saying, I am a certified associate, I have this foundational knowledge. And we did that specifically because we know we have a lot of entry-level people who don't know data management and want to be able to come into a job with some knowledge.
Of course.
So of course you would have to learn how whatever organization you go in does what they do. But if they start using, we're very good at using jargon and abbreviations, and it's a whole other language. It's like speaking a whole other language. You would have that knowledge of what that actually is, and be able to speak it, and be able to be on a similar level, at least with an understanding. And then again, going back to as you're marketing yourself, you go back and you say, well, I know this, this, and this, and I also know this, and I can bring this to you. So. Just a little plug. little interview advice.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I also have a question.
Yeah.
So what are your advices for students or young graduates that are interested in getting into clinical data management? But what are the routes, actually? My question is, what are the routes, what are the paths that a young graduate can take in order to get into a career in clinical data management?
Yeah.
Except the certification part, because most of you guys do not have a formal education in clinical data management.
Right.
So what are your advices?
Yeah, so my advice is if you're still in school, I would say try to find an internship or a co-op.
Okay.
If your university has that program. If your university doesn't, I would go on the websites of companies and look. Many companies advertise internships through their recruiting or through their job posting area of their website. Many companies will start that process, I would say late summer, early fall, because they want to try. Most people commit to these things by the end of the year, so that depending on what the timing is, if it's a summer internship, they're already set for the summer. If it's something that's a year, maybe they come in January and they do January to January. But I would say go to company websites, look to see what's available. If your university has an internship or co-op office or school or course, some universities actually have co-op courses where you enroll in the course, they teach you the skills of interviewing and obtaining a co-op and the value of a co-op, but they also help you find it. That's another way, work with the university. That's a really good way of gaining experience. LinkedIn, link into me. Yeah. Make sure you link into me. Link into others that you're meeting around, whether it be at an event that you go to. Build your network. Of course. Absolutely key is to build your network. Don't be afraid to try something, try a job, try a company, gain some experience. And if it's not what you want or what you're looking for, at least while you're in there, build your network again. It's all about networking, and try to learn what you can about the profession. So if you're coming into data management and you come into pharma and you start, I have a colleague who started in the lab, and he worked in the lab for 2 years, but is now a clinical data manager. He got into the company, he did this, he decided that it was fun, but not what he wanted to do, started looking, saw this, reached out to somebody, said, I don't know what this is, very similar to what I did. Can you tell me? Oh, that sounds really interesting. Applied and got. So there are different ways of doing it, but I would say internship co-op is a definite good way to start. You're a recent graduate. You might, investigate just an entry level position at a company. You certainly have the degree for it, but people who have degrees in bioinformatics or data science, do a little research before you go in to understand what the clinical part of that is, but you have the technical aptitude. I think one of the things that I'm not talking about here, we talk about technical, we talk about experience, willingness to learn. As a manager, for me, willingness to learn is one of the key things that I look at in a candidate. So I can have somebody come in who may not be very technically savvy, but has a passion for learning and a willingness to contribute. And as soon as I feel that and I sense that in an interview and I hear it through some of the answers that I'm getting for my questions, I know that I can teach that person. Yeah. So you can learn the skills, but it's that passion and drive to learn that is absolutely key, I think, in anybody hiring somebody to come into a company. Nobody expects somebody coming into an entry-level position to know exactly how to do the job. Yeah. But if you're willing to learn it, I'll bring you on in a heartbeat and let you go and explore and challenge yourself. And I think that's really key, that excitement to learn.
All right. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you mentioned that a young graduate can, without experience in clinical data management, can get a certification.
Yes.
When I was on the website of the SCDM, I thought the requirement to get a certification was at least 2 years of experience in clinical data management.
So you may have looked at the Certified Clinical Data Manager. So the CCDA is 0 to 2 years. Oh, okay. So that's the requirement there. And so like I said, that what's nice about that is that you can get the foundational knowledge, get the certification, and be able to market yourself as a certified clinical data associate with foundational knowledge, willing to learn, with a passion to learn, and that will help you, I think, get into pharma or wherever it is that you're looking, tech or whatever area where data management touches. Because pharma is part of it, but there's tech, there's contract research organizations, a lot of different companies, service companies that do the same thing that we do in the same arena. Just they're different companies. So there's, of course, big pharma, but there's medium and small pharma. There are, like I said, tech companies, CROs. But you would do the certification. I think that would be an absolute advantage for you to you and anybody in your position of just coming into the industry to be able to do.
So I don't have another question, but that was interesting for me. It was amazing. Thank you very much for
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. And network. Make sure you network.
Yeah, of course. I've started already, so yeah.
Good. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.